Hi everyone, Nothony Mortano here, the internet's busiest music nerd, and it's time for a review of this brand new album from Flume, Palaces. Australian electronic music producer Flume. It has been 6 years since the release of his last full-length LP, Skin, where some would say he did a pretty great job of taking the loose and groovy sounds of future bass and wonky and giving them a glitchy but also kind of slick and mainstream appeal. With bright synth patches and massive rhythms, crushing bass, as well as very prominent guest vocalists, be they Aluna George, Raekwon, Vince Staples, Beck. Several years ago, we also did get Flume's Hi, This Is Flume mixtape, which is handily my favorite project he's released thus far. And this project, in my opinion, more than Flume's two previous records, took a legitimately adventurous and colorful approach to wonky that stayed in touch with the genre's left field roots while still, bringing those connections to trap and EDM that Flume usually has in the mix. There were also a few cool deconstructed bangers in the track list too. Awesome crossovers with Slow Tie and Sophie. But again, that project was a mixtape, and as a result, it's of course going to be more all over the place and more wild than anything that Flume would drop as a formal album. As much as I did enjoy this thing, I kind of doubted that the creative chaos of this project would carry over onto Flume's next studio LP, especially given that some of the teasers for this record kind of felt like business as usual, like with the track Say Nothing, which features a very clean and dramatic vocal feature from Maya. It's a great display of texture and sound play. I'm just not that crazy about the more formulaic elements of the song, whether that be the typically anthemic build or even the vocal performance itself, aesthetically kind of scratching this very sentimental EDM tune itch. Plus the chorus effects that build up on the hook, a little grating. Thankfully, guests like Caroline Polachek are bringing a bit more personality to the table, but as heavenly as this crossover sounds, there's never really a point where Flume digs in and provides an adequate payoff for all of the tension building up against Caroline's very angelic but very static vocal performance. The stuttering synths and glitches just aren't really enough. I get a stronger sense of structure and progression out of the track Escape, which has Quiet Bison on it, as well as frequent Flume collaborator Kuchka. And sure, aesthetically, while in some respects this track may fall right into a lot of those main stage EDM festival cliches, the glitch-filled drop that we hear on this track is so detailed, so relentless, and so intense, it's kind of impossible to ignore. Flume's transitions from bare-bones verses to maximal choruses aren't always smooth though, like I Can't Tell featuring Laurel, which at its start kind of gives the sense that we're going to be hearing a very moody but groovy electropop piece. The ascending synthesizers that eventually swell in start giving us a different direction though. But eventually this suddenly gives way to one of the most saturated and very grating drops on the entire LP, which aesthetically and melodically doesn't really have a lot in common with the verses on the track. It just feels sort of tacked on. I also wish some of the solo cuts on this thing packed a bit more heat. The stuttering synth leads on, of which there are many on the entire album, do wear out their welcome before this cut's 2 minutes are up. And while the crescendo in the second half of Love Light is great, as are some of the chord changes, the loose trap rhythms on this cut do leave something to be desired, not to mention the Love Light vocal chop that is sort of the centerpiece on this track isn't exactly gripping. I have no idea what drew Flume to this sample to kind of base this song around. JASPER'S song is loaded with all these gorgeous, winding, warped piano arpeggios, slowly swelling synths, and what sounds like strings as well orbiting it. It's a very pretty moment on the record, though it does throw the track list off a little bit because there's really nothing else here that feels like an extended interlude that is as stunningly beautiful. I will say the rhythms and thick buzzing bass of the track Get You are insane and are easily some of the most, thrilling seconds of this LP. I also think the heavenly transition of instrumentation that the track delivers in the second half is great too. And thank God for the song Go, because there aren't too many moments on this LP otherwise where you are getting dance floor friendly rhythms from front to back nearly. There are a few odd cuts that I thought added to the personality of this record as well. There is OnlyFans with Virgen Maria, which is this very deconstructed, off-kilter sort of spoken word piece about OnlyFans, a lot of OnlyFans references. OnlyFans, that's my job. The idea, the concept, I think is fun, but there's not really too much to it outside of how gargantuan some of the rhythms feel and just the novelty concept of it, which again, I would say wears off after a few listens. There's also the title track with Damon Albarn, which is actually another beautiful moment on the LP, quite moody and linear and kind of builds up toward the end for a powerful emotional finish. Damon easily stands out as one of the best features on the entire project. But yeah, overall I would say this Flume album, while I did enjoy it more than Skin, it is still kind of a mixed bag. Not nearly as wild or out there or as challenging or colorful or as creative in my opinion as the, Flume mixtape. But still, I will say in the 6 years it's been since Flume's last full-length LP, he has gotten quite a bit better in terms of fusing these elements of EDM music and wonky music and just kind of making them work, whereas before it felt like that combination was a bit awkward or not quite fitting. Thanks to all the years of work and effort that Flume has been putting in, that sounds like more of a natural fit on this project now. Even if I'm not being blown away by every single track here, I'm feeling a light to decent 6 on this one. Transition, have you given this album a listen? Did you love it? Did you hate it? What would you rate it? You're the best, you're the best. What should I review next? Hit the like if you like. Please subscribe and please don't cry. Hit the bell as well. Over here next to my head is another video that you can check out. Hit that up or the link to subscribe to the channel. Anthony Fantano, Flume, forever.